Hi everyone, it's Melinda Jennison, Streamline Property Buyers here in Brisbane. I've got the very latest data that I'm going to be delivering today in this presentation to help you understand what we are seeing in Brisbane in terms of the residential property market. So let's get started. Here is our market snapshot. First of all, we're looking at listing volumes. This is according to CoreLogic data, and it compares the total number of listing volumes this month compared to the same period last year. You can see there we're down 21.3%. That's the total volume of listings. CoreLogic also confirms that new listings are down 25% right now compared to the same period last year. So supply is extremely tight in Brisbane. Auction clearance rates, 66.6%. We're going to look at the running trend monthly in auction clearance rates for our city in this presentation. Buyer activity is still high for quality properties, although it's not the same across all of Greater Brisbane. House values jumped 1.4% across the month, according to CoreLogic. Unit values jumped 1.6%, according to CoreLogic. And we've got gross yields now sitting at 4.2% for all dwellings throughout Greater Brisbane. Looking at some SQM research now, this is a snapshot of our property listings here in Brisbane. The long-term trend, as you can see in this graph, shows that listing volumes are much lower than our 5-year average right now. Comparing the number of listings in Brisbane from June through to July, we've seen new listings increase ever so slightly, just up to 2.6%. However, the total listing volumes declined 6.15%. So there's still more buyers than sellers, and we're seeing that supply is shrinking because of that. This is not the same as what the national headlines are stating for the Australian property market, because Brisbane is not following the same trend as some other cities around Australia. Sales volumes, we are still much lower than this time last year. So we're looking at the current change in sales volumes from 12 months ago is negative 23.4%. Last month, this was negative 24.5%. So we are still transacting fewer properties than we were 12 months ago. There's been very little change month to month. However, the buyer demand is still very strong, with now 2 interest rate pauses in Brisbane across the last 2 months. We're seeing more and more buyers become more confident to make a transaction and to participate in the market. I've got some Apollo Auctions data here in terms of auction clearance rates. In May, 72.4% was their clearance rate, June 65.05%, and July 66.6%. This data, we believe, is more accurate for Brisbane because it reflects what's happening in the Greater Brisbane market, whereas the domain auction data often includes transactions that are occurring on the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast within the Brisbane numbers, which does not make it as accurate. I will say also, in terms of auctions, the average number of registered bidders, according to Apollo Auctions, has been slowly decreasing. In May, it was 3.9 per auction on average, June 3.7, and July 3.5. However, the number of registered bidders who are actively participating in the auctions is holding firm. This month that was 63.4%, and last month 63.9%. So those who are registering have no hesitation in lifting up their paddle. If it is a private treaty sale, multiple offers are still very common for quality properties. However, those properties that are sitting on main roads or have flood impact or some other impact that buyers don't find appealing, days on market will be trending higher. For quality properties, days on market is actually trending lower. Let's have a look at dwelling values. So according to CoreLogic, throughout the month of July, dwelling values increased 1.4%. That's up from last month, where we saw dwelling values increase 1.3% in Brisbane. The median dwelling value in Brisbane is now $735,394. Now that includes both houses and units, but I will say that is an increase of $9,997 compared to just 1 month ago. PropTrack data for all dwellings also shows a similar trend. It's showing that we are up 0.37%. PropTrack also puts Brisbane dwelling values at an annual growth rate now of 1.98%, and it is showing that this is the highest that dwellings have been historically speaking. Let's look at the price growth segmentation. So one thing to note here is that Brisbane's upper quartile or upper 25% of property values is actually sitting at 3% growth alongside the middle 50% of property values and the lowest 25% of property values. This is data for the 3 months up to the end of June. However, when we compare this data to the data for the first quarter, we've seen the lowest 25% of property values increased 3.6% across the 3-month period, whereas the highest 25% of property values has increased 5.1%. That is the difference between the first quarter's changes and the second quarter's changes. So what that means is that the top end of the market is driving the overall growth here in Brisbane, which is reflective of other markets around Australia. Let's look at the house values here in Brisbane. According to CoreLogic, the house values for Brisbane increased 1.4% across the month of July. We now have a median value for a Brisbane house at $819,832, which is actually $13,051 more than just 4 weeks ago, which is a significant shift. And buyers must keep this in mind if they are shopping in the market. PropTrack also shows house values increased, showing 0.36% growth across the month of July. Again, annual growth for houses, according to PropTrack, is up by 1.47%. Looking at unit values, according to CoreLogic, the median value for a unit in Brisbane is now $520,346. That's up 1.7% compared to 1 month ago. And if we want to quantify the value, that's an increase of $8,084 across the month of July. So you can see that this is a very strong growth. And in fact, this is growth that has accelerated across both segments of the market between June and July. Unit values, according to PropTrack, also up 0.46%. So both data sets this month showing a similar trend. Let's have a look at how property values have changed. This tracks the changes in houses and units since January 2020. The black bars represent house value changes on a monthly basis, according to CoreLogic, and the blue bars represent unit value changes. So you can see here in the most recent month of July, both houses and units have shown, they've regained that price growth momentum here in Brisbane, which again bucks that national trend. Vacancy rates in Brisbane remained unchanged between May and June, sitting at 1%. So you can see that long-term trend still shows very tight vacancy across the city, and this is what continues to put that upward pressure on rents. That said, rents in Brisbane for houses, we've seen a 12-month change of 7.7%. Last month, that was actually 8.6% on a 12-month change. So we are seeing price growth, but the rate of growth is starting to slow down. That is the same in the unit market. So across the 12-month period, 15.8% growth in rents in the unit market. Last month, that was 16.3%. So very, very strong growth in units, more so than houses. However, that rate of growth is just starting to ease across Brisbane's rental market in both segments of units and houses. So if we look at our market summary, Brisbane is definitely bucking the national trend. National news headlines are not actually relevant to what we're seeing here in Brisbane. We are hearing in national news stories that listing volumes are increasing. Here in Brisbane, that is not the case, and I've just presented the data to confirm those findings. In fact, Brisbane's listing volumes are holding fairly firm. Total listings are declining month to month, whereas new listings remained fairly stable. Price growth is accelerating here in Brisbane, unlike other capital city markets where prices are still increasing, but the rate of growth is declining. So again, we are bucking the national trend here in Brisbane. There's still an imbalance between supply and demand because we have such tight listing volumes, but we've still got a lot of buyers out and about on the ground, and that's evidenced through the number of people that are turning up to auctions, the number of people that are turning up to open homes, but also the number of offers going in on properties. I will say though, and Heron Todd White research this month has confirmed this, not all locations are performing equally across the city, and there's been a softening of prices in some of the northernmost parts of the Moreton Bay region, as well as some of the regions out in the Ipswich area. However, it's not the purpose of this presentation to go into all of those price segmentation areas. We're just presenting Brisbane information as a whole. For anyone that's wanting more specific information, connect with us. There's the opportunity to scan this QR code. We have a lot of free resources for you available there that will help to guide you in making informed decisions when buying here in Brisbane. And of course, if you do need professional assistance in purchasing your home or an investment property here in Brisbane, reach out to our team. Contact details are on that QR code as well. Thanks so much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Bye for now.